So for those of us friends who aren't here tonight, I'm just going to give a quick briefing on the annexation of a further 1,500 hectares within the New South Wales hardwood plantation estate. It has gone now from 36,500 to a little bit over 38,000. I'm going to show you that creep on Google Earth Pro, but first of all, I just generally want to also let you know that what forestry has done is also remove a lot of the native forests, the remnant original forest that I have identified in my various areas, and turn that into CIFOA so they can log it there. But they have also encroached and expanded into new areas of original forest and old growth within the plantation estate. And there have been some outright major annexes. I'm also just in passing going to allude to the discussions that Dee Wanis and I have had over email today about the change in status and of the CIFOA logging in quite a lot of the Koala Park and beyond as well, but particularly in our bailiwicks in relation to changing of status to intensification. So we're looking at a change in some of the logging regimes within the native forest estate to an intensive logging, i.e. plantation, quasi-plantation regime. We are seeing a concerted attack on our forests. This is the industry's trade-off for staying quiet over the Great Koala National Park. And this is the collusion that is going on between the various agencies and ministries under the current government in exchange for the Koala Park, and also partly explains some of the deafening silence of the NGOs on this as well, some of whom actively support this agenda because they actively support the gaining of carbon credits or Australian carbon units from plantation forestry, which is about to get the nod from the federal government as well. And some of the NGOs are actively supporting this in the deluded belief that this will be the card that they can play to end native forest logging. But of course, we know that we cannot end native forest logging because it will just simply be transferred into the plantations. And we are seeing the first stage in that process. So I'm just going to share Google Earth Pro now. So I will just randomly select, well, not randomly, the ones I've kind of looked at the most intensely, some of the areas that are of particular concern to us as the friends. And I'm going to go into Newry. I'll just put on the IFOA layers, and I will progressively turn on the different plantation layers. So we're mainly looking here at Newry State Forest. Tarkeith is to the north, with the Pacific Highway running through it. Just going to turn off the compartment boundaries now so we can focus on the plantations. And I just want us to focus in on this particular area. This is compartments 9 and 10, which have been recently logged. It's even appearing, as you can see, in the top to the south of Martel's Road on Google Earth. This is the plantation as it existed in the year 2000. This is the plantation in magenta as it existed in 2021 after I FOI'd this data layer from forestry. This has all the metadata in it, so we have all the information that we need to know. We have all the information in there about the year, the plantation type, etc., etc. You can see some change in the boundaries. For example, in this zoom close up here, this larger area becomes two small dots, etc. That was in 2021. In 2022, the boundary started changing. Not much. Basically, internal units are swallowed up. The magenta is the 2021. The white is the 2022-2023 plantation area. And you can see that there's been a rationalization of boundaries, but nothing particularly radical. So I'll just wait a minute or so for Meredith to tune in. So Meredith, greetings. We're just going through the changes, the 1,500 hectare annexations of native forests that have occurred in the latest plantation data set. I've just taken Newry as the first case study, and we're looking at the plantation data set as it existed after some boundary reconfigurations in 2023. I'm now going to turn on the latest boundary. I'm going to zoom in again to compartments 9 and 10. I'm going to turn off the last data set before the current data set. And I'm going to draw your attention to two things. First of all, in the center here with the streamside reserves, the streamside reserves have now been removed. And those plantations on harvest plan operational maps, in the case of this forest, Newry 9, have been called residual mature plantations. So they are now available for logging. But of even greater concern in the brazenness of the action is the annexation of an entire, in this case, 125 hectares of native forest. So this area has been annexed just outright from the state forest. Ditto with this unit down here. So in Newry now, we have over 300 hectares of previously designated native forest being called plantation for clearfell logging, in addition to the change of status of a whole range of other CIFOA forests to intensive management. So we are seeing the beginning of the liquidation program of native forests in the plantations that I predicted would happen 3 years ago. Tarkeith, you've got off pretty lightly. So your changes are negligible. So one of the reasons for that is that most of your forest has already been logged, and they've already basically reconfigured that plantation to their own devices. But we can scrutinize that in more detail. But I will now go to Tucker's Knob. And I will do that process in reverse again, or rather, I'll start in 2000. So this is just an anecdotal case study. This is the plantation estate as it existed in 2000. This is the plantation estate as it existed in 2021. You can see that there has been some expansion of the streamside reserves, as historically New South Wales became more progressive in relation to environmental legislation in the pre-Baird and Berejiklian Labor governments. Again, last year we see some rationalization of those 2021 boundaries. We basically have areas being subunits being swallowed up into other units. We have some small annexations of native forest. Some expansion, but of a level that, you know, Tim would have been jumping up and down about and getting upset about until we got whacked with this massive expansion program. And I just now want to draw your attention to this drainage through here, this water course. Oops, sorry. So we are now left with a drastically reduced watercourse. Now, Meredith, this is also going on in the FODK region. It's quite complex as you've got so much, but basically what is going on in your area is this shrinkage of streamside reserves. And then just for D in Conglomerate, to show you what's happening in Conglomerate. So Conglomerate is a good example of what they have done now that they have logged so much of it already, and the rationalization of boundaries basically to fit their existing conversion agenda. So for those of us who remember the star, let's go to the 2000 data set. Then we will go to the 2021 data set where all this stuff started clicking into place. The star is disappeared. and just declared plantation and logged. And this same configuration was basically repeated in the 2023 to the 2022-2023 plantation areas. But again, some boundary rationalizations. But after the conversion and the alienation of all that original forest to native forest, forestry has now effectively legitimated that logging by redrawing the boundaries around what it has alienated in this particular instance. They haven't done so up here, but it is not clear what status this now has in terms of its loggability, because there has been another change in forestry's agenda. In addition to the annexation of native forest into plantations, the intensification of native forest areas, it has also folded the plantation and coastal hardwood data nomenclature, the name, into one. So there is now coastal, native, hardwoods and plantations as one unit in the DFA and the defined forest area, and the actual coastal hardwood plantation designation has been given to a much, much smaller subset. The implications for that being is they want to weasel word their native forest logging in this other area. And then D, just to draw your attention to some boundary creep. So these are the plantations further to the west. Here are the 2021 boundaries. Here are the 2023 boundaries. So you can see there's been an annexation of this area here. Meredith, I think we probably need a separate briefing to go through all the details in your area, and I'm happy to do that at some stage. So the message here, folks, is that forestry is on the complete warpath. It's gone and engaged in a massive land grab, an intensification land grab. The 38,000 hectares that we now have as plantations is not the same 36,500 hectares that we have, because stuff has been swapped out and rebadged CIFOA. Areas that were previously never plantation have been called plantation. Areas in the case of Pine Creek, for example, that forestry gave away as plantation and allowed them to be considered as native forest for 20 years, have now been dusted off the shelf and rebadged as plantation. And we're talking about plantations that were established in Pine Creek in 1958. So we have a very serious attack. And of those alienations into plantation, at least half of that 1,500 hectares has occurred within the footprint of the Koala Park. So there we go, World War III. All right, well, look, Meredith, just to bring you up to speed very quickly, we had communications from Plibisec's office encouraging us to put in a national estate nomination for the World Heritage Area. So very positive response. Nothing from the state so far. Tanya was the first cab off the rank, which is interesting. We've talked about progressing that. There's in principle agreement amongst the friends who were here at the beginning of the meeting to progress that. We were also encouraged in that letter to do that in consultation with First Nations. So we need a concerted outreach strategy across the friends groups to remind our First Nations brothers and sisters of the World Heritage proposal, then to explain to them that the next step is a national estate nomination, and then to basically get that nomination happening. And the second thing that we discussed was creating a petition around no logging in the Greater Koala Park as a formal petition. As much as we might want to end clear felling, etc., as was raised, one of the issues we have is that most of our forests within the friends groups, our friends groups want to see an end to logging, and we also, have a World Heritage agenda. So a no logging in the GKP is a good addition to our campaign activities.
Okay, so is that a state-based petition, a government petition directly for New South Wales citizens to sign?
This petition humbly showeth bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Yeah.
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 Sounds like a good thing to do. But I think just as far as explaining things, it's so complex. I think we have to kind of find some really simple language to point out, just like dot points, what is actually going on, and that, if you want to get more information, you have to go to Tim.
Well, I think we can call it forestry's mega land grab.
Yeah. Just need some really clear messaging, I think, because as soon as you start delving into all of those little intricacies and complexities of layers and different years and histories and stuff like that, it's just so easy to get lost in it,
Look, I've done the best I can on the GKP FB page, and it's gone to FODK. I don't think it's gone to FOC yet, D. So if you want to pick that up and just share it onto FOC itself. So I have started that process. Look, I have a call into the certifiers tomorrow for what it's worth. I'm going to tell them that, in my opinion, forestry has to have its certification suspended. I'm going to tell them that tomorrow. I have never asked for that before, but this is just completely outrageous. Just as a side observation, Dee and I went back into Arara 23 to the plantation, the last plantation logging in there, and they are still going into the remnants and still taking the target species in the remnants. Not all remnants, not the remnants that don't have any target species in them, like that are full of bloodwood or something, or full only tallow wood, but any remnants that have, coastal blackbutt in there, because of their fucking LiDAR, they found it and they've taken it. So I've also complained about that. But I also have a call in to Chowdhury next week. And I'm going to be saying, what the fuck are you doing? You engaged with me. I told you were converting native forest to plantations. You set up a process, and you've ended up now with 1,500 hectares more than you had when you started talking to me. So you better fix this, or I'll just tell the world how fucked you are. Not that will make any difference, but it's really clear that forestry is comfortable with what it's doing, and that it's pretty obvious that Moriarty and Hughes and Sharp, whatever the internal politics are basically going along with this. And the whole offsets agenda, which is being pushed by Lyndon Schneiders, if any of you remember him, the ex-CEO of the Wilderness Society, the guy who was responsible for the implosion of the Wilderness Society in the early 2000s, and Ken Henry, the ex-CEO of the Australian Conservation Foundation. Ken Henry, Mr. Mate, have basically created an Australian carbon unit that they've now flogged to the industry, that the industry has embraced full bore, and the federal government's about to give it the Guernsey, and everything that forestry has just done will be accredited under that as an offset. And guess who of the NGOs is most actively now supporting it, and who was most hostile about having the plantations excluded from the Greater Koala Park and was paid by the NPA to take them out? And none other than Mr. Dylan Pugh himself. So all the monstering that happened to me on that horrible committee process, and all the fear and loathing that has been directed to us in relation to blowing the whistle on plantations, is all true. I don't like being right. I like being wrong.
They just want their Great Koala National Park. They don't actually want a really good one. They just want to get there. They just want to stop the logging in the native forest areas, and that's it. That, you know, they're happy to have a half-baked koala park.
They have sold their inheritance for a mess of pottage. For those of you who know your King James version of the Bible. But yeah, they basically sold us out. You know, they have.
Yeah, I think you've got them on one side, the people who, as exactly as Meredith just said, that they don't really care about too much about the quality of the park, the tourism or anything else. They just want the logging to stop there. And my feeling with the government, and particularly I think with Penny Sharp's office, because of the cost of the program and because of the pressures from all around, I think that what is taking priority over, and this is partly my opinion, it's a mixture, over saving the koala is making a Great Koala National Park that works for tourism. And I think that is, because of the cost of it, I think that it's critical for the minister to have a park that is seen as successful. So koalas coming in third here is the bottom line, is that we've got tourism, saving native forests, stopping the logging in native forests, any native forests, and somewhere maybe third is koala. Maybe. That's where we're at.
Yes, sadly. And to wit, look, it's just before 7. Meredith and I have a little bit of housekeeping about the Koala Army process. Are there any other comments or observations, or do you want to hang up now?
Should I share the emails with Arborfest to everyone so everyone has an idea of what might come up?
Share it on email, Dee. So we've been asked to give a presentation in Port Macquarie to the is it Port? No, put Lake Macquarie.
It's yeah, it's a bit further south. It's near Gosford.
A long way
That's a
away.
long way. What's the date?
2nd of November.
We're going to Sydney in November. I'll have to see if we can do it and tell you now.
2nd of
I think
November.
we're going a bit later than that.
We're in late November.
Mid-November.
2nd of November, we're actually cool. It's a long way to go.
Probably, it's a long way. When do we go to Sydney?
At the end of November. The 19th.
Third week.
We're in the third
Okay,
week.
2nd of November.
Maybe. Dee and I are off down to Kempsey, I think, on the 8th, is it, or the 9th of September, 8th, to do a Friends of Kempsey Shire Koalas citizen science event in Columbatti, compartment 16 and 17.
Mm.
All right, well, look, let's end the formal proceedings, but Meredith, if you want to just hang on, seeing as you're here now, let's just have a bit of a chat about logistics. So Dee?
I was talking without the audio again. So we'll just sign off at this point.
Yeah, just sign off.
Okay. Good to see
Yeah,
you.
drive carefully.
Bye.
All right. Well, good
Be
luck
safe.
for the journey.
Thank you.
Safe journey.
We'll see you soon. Good night, everyone.
All right, Meredith. So look, I've managed to scrape together a few $100s worth of funds.
Brilliant.
So so I think we're pretty covered. But bring your wallet just in case.
Oh, yeah, I'll make sure I've got money available for any unforeseen things and to pay my way.
Yeah, and look, so petrol's covered, accommodation, we might have to see, just depending on how much the petrol costs. But I've paid for that now. So we're in this place called Alveo Holiday Park.
Yeah, that was the one the AKF said they were all staying at. Yeah.
So I've actually hired a room. It sleeps 5.
Oh, okay.
So if you've got any,
You got it quite cheap.
it's $172.
Yeah. So we could invite some other people to come and share the space then, if we want to do that.
Potentially, yes, we could.
Yeah.
And we could potentially even offer someone a seat in the car if we wanted to bring another person down with us.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a free ride, and all we'd have to do is just contact the park and let them know that we've got one more person in our cabin, and is that okay?
All right. Okay.
But I'm up to my eyeballs in everything, so I don't want to deal with that. But anyway, there's some intel and info for you if you want to get someone who's nice and happy to come with us and to stay, or if there's other people. A couple of other logistical things before we get on to time and date when we rendezvous to leave is, are we in a squadron? And have we registered yet?
Well, I registered online into the Greater Glider Squadron because I'm bringing the glider head.
Okay. So, does it matter if I come in your squadron as a koala?
I don't think so, because koalas and gliders are mates. They hang out in the same kind of forest.
I thought I might do a little story like that.
Yeah.
I also have the Greater Koala Park banner.
Okay.
So I thought I'd hang like my Tucker's stuff off. I'm sure you have your other placard, but I thought perhaps we could carry both ends of the great and have that Greater Koala Park there, if you can cope with
Okay.
that.
Yeah, probably. And because I've got one that hangs off a string that just says Clouds Creek Greater Glider Sanctuary. So, you know, I could probably even hang that off the ears down my back or something, you know.
And do you have a name?
For my glider,
Yeah.
I'll think of one on the way down.
All right, because we'll do a whole skit. You know, we'll do a movie skit. I'll only be in character. I won't be Tim at all during the event, just to let you
Oh.
know. That's
Or I might have to come up with a character too then.
I just
Yeah.
don't want to have to, like, you know, talk to anyone apart from as Koala.
Oh, I love that idea.
Uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll just go as glider. Yeah.
Koala and glider off to the army. Join the army. Okay, so I join the Greater Glider.
Gloria. Gloria the glider.
We can sing.
Yeah.
All right. So logistics. Obviously, we leave on Saturday. We stay Saturday night. How early can you come to my place? Because the earlier we leave, the earlier we arrive, and the more we can chill out. To wit, do you want to come, or is it easier for you if you come the night before so that we can get an early start and you don't have to drive down? I don't know what your
Yeah. So
like
when you say an early start, because I'm pretty good at doing, you know, dawn vigil. So I've been getting up at 4:30 anyway, which means if I was to do the same thing, I could be at your place at before 6 in the morning, or I can come earlier if need be.
look, if it's entirely up to you. If you want to drive down and get in at 6 and we leave at 6, or you want to come down the night before, that's fine. Whatever you want.
What time do you want to leave though?
Well, it's you know,
It's like a 9 or 10 hour drive, isn't it?
And that's a full-on drive. So really, it's 11 or 12
With stops and
and wheeze and petrol, and I'll be driving my manual, which I hate. So it will be a bit slower. So, you know, realistically,
it's a Subaru, is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So if we can leave at like 6 or 7, it's better for us.
Yeah.
So you can either come down. I mean, you can come down and just, you know, kip in the car even, once you get there or whatever.
Yeah. I think if you're happy to leave at 6, I'll just leave from up here early and get there at 6.
All right. Well, on Saturday, I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we'll make a nice early start and then, yeah, off we go.
Good. All right. Lovely. I don't think there's anything else, is there? Logistics?
No, I don't think so. We just have to be there with our costumes and our characters and
We might have to find somewhere nearby if we can. I mean, parking is always fucked in these cities. So I don't know how we deal with the parking to then get back into the car to drive home. I have a fairly busy day on Monday. So the earlier we can leave, the better. So as soon as the event's over, I want us to just go.
sounds fine with me because, yeah, I've got to be back at Vigil Monday morning as well. But Rona and Barry have said they'll give me some leeway. They're going to we're just going to organise it a bit so that if I'm not there straight away in the morning, they'll be there and I can come a bit later.
All right, no worries. All right, well, I'll see you at my place Saturday AM.
Okay, beautiful.
Bye.
See you, Tim.